On November 22nd, 2023, the Dutch party called the Party for Freedom stormed through the elections to gain yet another victory for the far right in Europe. The tough economic situation created in many ways thanks to the inhumane Russian invasion, along with constant immigration problems, made way for the rise of right-wing populism in many European countries. Looking ahead to the EU Parliament election in June 2024, the situation does raise concerns for the integrity of the European order as we know it. In this video, we will look at some of the emerging and already well-established right-wing parties within EU countries, their policies, and their potential future victories. Coming from the horrific experience of World War II, Germany has since become extremely cautious of any extremes emerging in their political world. A very understandable approach for a country that is responsible for one of the worst chapters of human history. Nonetheless, the recent development in the German political arena raises a lot of questions. Over the past couple of years, a far-right party called Alternative for Germany, or short AfD, has enjoyed a massive surge in their support, currently polling second ahead of parliament elections with 20% voter support. Created in 2013, the party initially centered its ideology around Euroscepticism, opposing the European Economic Zone. Since then, AfD members continuously radicalized and fallen further into right-wing extremism. The recent scandal in January 2024 revealed several AfD members at a private meeting in Potsdam. The main discussion was a plan to forcefully deport all non-ethnic Germans and migrants from the country, even if they held a valid German passport. An unthinkable proposition for a German society still haunted by horrific Nazi plans to purify the nation immediately sparked hundreds of protests all across the country. Most of the German politicians openly spoke against the AfD, with many calling for a complete ban of the party. Nonetheless, AfD did not lose much of its 20% nationwide support, showing how dedicated its voters are. The radicalization of German society is evident, and it is up to the current government to effectively address the issue and promote democratic values, which seem to be slowly forgotten. Following a defeat in 2022, Marine Le Pen's party National Rally seems to finally come into a position of strength. A devastating dissatisfaction with the current French government in the face of President Emmanuel Macron is almost at its lowest point, with the French president hardly reaching a 30% nationwide approval rating. The key to such political failure lies in three main issues for the French population that Macron's government failed to address: immigration, security, and economic anxiety. Increasing terrorist attacks, such as the stabbing of a teacher, Dominique Bernard, in northern France, have additionally sparked the debate. Far-right National Rally successfully utilizes these events, using people's anger and desperation to gain political advantage. Right now, Le Pen's party is polling at 29% and leading the charts ahead of June's EU Parliament elections. It is most likely that the National Rally will indeed win the majority of seats. The crucial point is that Russia's fingerprints are present all over the recent rise of the National Rally. A report by the Washington Post revealed close ties between Kremlin strategists and Le Pen in their desire to destabilize European order and threaten the current military support for Ukraine. Russia is reported to have organized numerous troll farms that targeted the French population with anti-Macron and pro-Russian narratives. Le Pen seems to delusionally believe in a possible division of Europe between French and Russian spheres of interest and wants to cut a deal with the bloody Russian dictator. Additionally, there is evidence of direct financing that the National Rally received coming from Russia. During Le Pen's fundraising campaigns, the first loan for 9.4 million euros in 2014 came directly from a Russian bank, while the second, for 8 million euros in 2017, was of more mysterious origin via an Abu Dhabi bank. Within the last year, National Rally openly withheld support for Ukraine in several key votes and continued to push forward a narrative of cancelling the sanctions against Russian war criminals and inviting them back to Europe. Surprisingly, on this list, Portugal has recently seen a huge spike in support for the right-wing party called Chega, polling as high as 21% after just 4 years since polling at 1.3%. Chega rose into a truly considerable political force. Similarly to other like-minded European parties, Chega focuses its political agenda on right-wing populism, with central concerns being nationalism, opposition to immigration, and militarism. The main slogan of the party, "Portugal needs cleanup," speaks for itself. Nonetheless, unlike Le Pen's national rally in France, Chega does not have any reported ties with the Russian government, and thus was able to be more flexible on the issue of war. Chega has been free to initially take the more popular position among voters, supporting Ukraine. Then, when the weight of war waned in voters' minds, Chega began to focus on pre-existing political priorities. Another European state that fell for a right-wing populist party called Freedom Party in the 2023 parliament elections. What is striking is an extreme surge in their support. Within 1 month before the election day, the popularity of the Freedom Party, whose leader is Dutch politician Geert Wilders, almost doubled, going from 13% all the way to 24%, which in the end helped them win the most parliament seats. The agenda of the Freedom Party circles around a narrative of anti-immigration and anti-Islam, which became pressing matters in Dutch society. Nonetheless, despite winning the election, the Freedom Party does not hold the majority in the parliament. Thus, they will have to enter into negotiations with the opposition, which makes implementation of any extreme measures unlikely. So far, the negotiations are still ongoing, with the Dutch parliament remaining in a dysfunctional state. One of the problems is the proposed legislation of Wilders' party that included a ban on mosques, Islamic schools, and the Quran. Wilders is winning the support of other EU radicals, including Hungarian autocrat Viktor Orban and French right-wing Marie Le Pen. Notably, Wilders is reported to have ties with Russia, alike his French supporter. While the Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 led Wilders to change tack and denounce Russia's aggression, he still disagreed with sanctions against Russia. Thankfully, the Dutch parliament system will not allow Wilders to implement his vision fully. The political tension and corruption scandals in Austrian politics resulted in the rapid decline of the current ruling Austrian People's Party and the emergence of the Freedom Party of Austria as the strongest political force ahead of the elections. Herbert Kickl, leader of the Freedom Party, calls himself a future Volkskanzler, in translation, People's Chancellor. Kickl's stance is strongly against immigration. He stated that he would make sure that no asylum applications were accepted, and announced Orban's regime in Hungary as his role model. Currently, the support of the Freedom Party rose all the way to 27%, putting them in the first place ahead of the elections. As well as many right-wing European movements, the Freedom Party has a known relationship with the Moscow regime. Notably, during Ukrainian President Zelensky's speech in Austria's parliament, the Freedom Party members walked out as a sign of protest. The far-right politicians said they were protesting against the speech because it violated Austria's principle of neutrality. The delusion of the Freedom Party leadership seems to drive their strategy of a relationship with Russia. Hundreds of thousands of dead at the hands of Moscow occupiers does not seem to put reason in the heads of the Austrian right wing. Viktor Orban, the champion of far-right in Europe, continues to be the leader of one of the most anti-democratic and Eurosceptic regimes within the EU. After gaining power in 2010, Orban's party Fidesz has since then won 4 consecutive parliamentary elections, transforming the judiciary and media in their favor along the way. The latest contest happened in 2022, when 5 Hungarian parties joined together in a coalition called United for Hungary. They disagreed on many things but came together to end Viktor Orban's increasingly authoritarian tenure as prime minister. Nonetheless, even such a united effort did not allow them to penetrate the tight Fidesz system. Orban's party won, gaining 54% and cementing their rule over the whole country. Viktor Orban is most known for his close personal ties to Putin, which makes Fidesz's reign a major problem for Europe. For the past 2 years, Orban has been sabotaging European decisions to oppose Russian aggression by vetoing sanctions and military aid for Ukraine. Hungarian autocrat has not once stated that he is against supporting Ukraine and wishes to give away Ukrainian territory. What's more, Fidesz leader Laszlo Toroczkai stated that Hungary would claim a western region of Ukraine in case Russia succeeds in its occupation. Plans of sick imperialists to restore their grand Hungarian empire. In any case, thanks to immense pressure from other European states, Hungary was forced to give in and did not veto the recent nearly $60 billion Ukraine aid package. Despite being a massive pain in the ass, Hungary still heavily relies on EU funding, giving EU states huge leverage in negotiations. Since the 2018 general election, the popularity of the Italian right-wing party Brothers of Italy has skyrocketed, reaching a staggering 26%, allowing them to win elections in 2022. After the initial year of governance, the party leader Giorgia Meloni proved to be different compared to other right-wing European regimes. She recognized the need for European cooperation and abandoned her previous Eurosceptic position. Additionally, she did not allow her party to fall into a pro-Russian right-wing bloc within the EU. Meloni constantly reinforced Italy's stance on Ukraine's military aid and stressed the importance of defeating a Russian dictator. The tension in Belgium has been rising over the past years. Two regions, Flanders and Wallonia, are getting further apart by politics, language, and economy. Vlaams Belang, a right-wing nationalistic party based in Flanders, centers its ideology around the separation of the whole region. In short, they want to split Belgium and declare two independent states. Right now, Vlaams Belang is polling at number 1 with 25%, with elections coming up this June. However, similarly to the Netherlands, they would require a parliament coalition to move forward with their desires. Given the fact of how radical their views are, it seems highly unlikely that they will succeed in bringing other parties on board. The rise of the right wing is also evident in other countries, with Sweden Democrats holding 23% in Sweden. AUR gaining the support of 19% of Romanian voters. Finland's Finns Party currently polling in third place with 18% of votes. And Revival Party in Bulgaria going up to 15%. The strong rise of right-wing and in many cases pro-Russian parties is a huge concern for the safety and security of not just Europe, but the whole world. Radical politicians with extreme ambitions is a dangerous combination that may lead to the collapse of the current European system. European elections in June 2024 may be as crucial as American elections later in the year. Right now, we are entering a phase where the whole world order is on the brink of total transformation.